secret operators, which makes the matter almost irresolvable and always defaults to a shit show. 3, topic education. It's a TOC topic. We have 5 months of debate. It's the last topic of my career, so you shouldn't end my career and that kind of thing. Auditing takes a moral obligation for common users. Trace control the paradigmatic way in the English state moral principles, practical conclusions, constant imperative reads. I ought evaluate every speech, otherwise it cuts it off so that there's a time skew for one side or another, which is structurally skewed towards either the negative or the affirmative, which is a bad thing. Skep is morally important because it says you can never say that racism is bad objectively or other things. Project NC arguments whose implications to auto-gate abuse are always a magnitude. Even if they're technically true in the flow, you should intervene against them because they're ridiculous. One error theory, the advocates, because otherwise the net can get you infinite peace, make debate possible. No 2 error theory, kills resolve, related to just intervening, weighing in, interpret 2 error counter, repeat one, draw the leader. Sure, one error is rapidly skewed from abuse and substance and time business theory, so I can't split my time. See no RBS 6 2 error from collapse or short from get with infinite 1 CPs, sheer brute force and time spent theory. GPU use competing in terms. 1 error in terms are bidirectional. The next should have to depend the Romans since they have more time. Yes, after RBS 8 1 after 4 1 error to answer to your theory. Excuse my time on other arguments. C bites of a high percent about time. People know risk usually for the neck. If you can go for it in the 2 error, if I undercover, if I overallocate, you can get fairness is a voter. Debate is a competitive activity. Needs both debaters spend an equal playing field. Argumentative. Any reason to reject fairness should be filtered to see if it's a reason fairness is hard to evaluate instead of whether it's a bad thing to evaluate. Nothing natural is permissibility or presumption, but they affirm 8 point getting us means proving prohibition, contradiction, opposite over the standing construction of the negative alternative forms unacceptable. B point B presume statements to true unless proven false. If I told you my name was Zach, you believe me. Absent other evidence. C point status quo bias. We're cognitively biased, maintaining the scope. Both often seem equal error in the side of change. D point we needed to act at all. We need to justify morally neutral actions like thinking or drinking glasses of waters. Otherwise, we would not be able to function as human beings.
Ready for cross?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So let's look at your impact, specifically the Reisner indictment.
Mm-hmm.
So it's saying essentially that Reisner's model of why extinction wouldn't happen is focused on Atlanta.
Yeah, they chose suburban Atlanta for their target choice of where a nuclear attack would hit. Obviously, that would not produce as large a firestorm and would probably create rainout, but striking New York City would not have the same impact. Other methodological issues include not specifying the load or the amount or like pretty much any part of the like nuclear blast, those technicalities. It also, artificially inserts conditions that would make it so that there would be less rising of smoke. There would be faster rainout situations. It's just all very suspicious.
Okay, sure. Let's move to your star 17 evidence. You say that
Yeah.
it would produce ozone losses of 20 to 50%. Why have past nuclear tests not produced the same type of ozone loss?
Because they're not nuclear wars. Because they're not nuclear wars. Launching one nuclear weapon does not kill everything. You're
There's
correct.
been several hundred nuclear weapons launched and exploded into the atmosphere. How is that not?
Yes, not at once. That's over 70 years. No one has ever tested 50 nukes at once. That would be ridiculous.
Does the ozone repair itself over time? Because there hasn't.
Yeah, it recovers. It bounces back. Our argument is that a nuclear war, even a limited one, would produce such a blow that it would create famine and permanently destroy agriculture before it has the chance to ever recover.
How does the agriculture argument rely on nuke winter?
The ozone stuff, firestorms, those are independent warrants, and nuclear winter happens.
No, but I'm asking if your agricultural warrant is reliant specifically.
I just said no.
Oh, okay. So what causes agricultural issues then?
Nuclear winter, but also firestorms, disruptions in the ozone layer that cause cooling regardless of black carbon smoke.
Starvation rely on your other warrants, or is that independent?
Well, obviously the impact of a nuke causes bad things, which causes starvation. It's not like if I hit you with a nuke, you're going to starve. No, you just die.
I'm asking you whether.
So yes, the answer is yes. It is dependent on a bunch of other internal links, but there's many of them and they're credible internal links.
Let's move on to your specific, your 2 point about hypersonic warhead discrimination.
Yep.
So is this that conventional hypersonic missiles are being confused for nukes, or that hypersonic?
They're too fast. We don't know where they're coming from. Even if the U.S. might, North Korea certainly doesn't.
Okay, and that's fine. I'm gonna take prep. Okay, so I used 2 minutes and 40 seconds. I'll send the doc now. The order is 3 off on case, starting with the framing slash underview, and then going on to the advantage. I'll signpost, but where I'm starting on, I'll signpost where in the advantage that I'm going.
Okay, cool.
I'm sorry, can you run that order one more time?
Sure. So it's going to be 3, then case, starting on framework slash underview. Then I'm going to be going on to the advantage. I'll signpost where in the advantage, since I'm going to be hopping around a little bit.
Okay, sounds good.
Make sure y'all got the doc.
I have not.
Me neither, but I'll let you know when I do.
Just got the doc.
So everyone's ready?
Yep.
All right. Starting. Nuclear war can cause your impact speeds nuclear cells to dozens times, and even the largest event was only 1/1000th of the powerful survival nuclear survival natural disasters. You can nuclear weapons and massively exaggerated into the current political climate. The choice that would be the end of the world if small. We're still here despite having nuclear plant 1,000 times. So 500 of the nuclear weapons detonate were unleashed in the Earth's atmosphere. Even if it does a rigorous climate simulation, pure hydroponic black carbon would lead to atmospheric precipitation, results in a rain effect that quickly reverses nuclear winter. All your ones extinction are contingent on nuclear winter rising. Worst case scenario is only a relatively small amount of carbon makes its way into the stratosphere. Estimates are at all-time high, considering the simplification to lead to the overproduction or estimating BC production. The climatic effects that depend on the height of mixing and sedimentation reduces possibly the low altitude of emissions are significantly impacted by precipitation. Only the initial BC 70% rains of the first few months of the inclusion of the organic carbon aerosols should not dramatically alter the climatic effects, but rather the aerosol shortens the resistance the resident time of BC. Nuclear winter doesn't cause nuclear war doesn't cause extinction. Wagner all out war would be far from the end. Level dangers have been exaggerated because particles remain airborne. It would be less dangerous, and air and shelters are safe to breathe in. The body can repair radiation damage of particles observed, and scattered heat airbursts are less dangerous, and firestorms occur only in a few old cities, and a few of Russia's ICBMs are 120 megaton. Soviet leaders are rational. They'll knock out the retardatory missiles, and fallout particles do not mix with food and water containers. And water can be made safe through filtering, and all calculations and models show no reductions in the air zone and the ozone are estimated. Moving from San Francisco to sea level, all warheads are smaller than those in the test because nuclear winter is discredited theory. The apocalyptic conclusions can be regulated to low probability. The greatest temperature reductions would be for a few days. No firestorm is ever injected smoke or cause cooling in nuclear war. It's for political will, for meaningful disarmament, deadening. Nuclear weapons would be used and not mark the end of the civilization due to the reductions in nuclear forces today after would have a potential for the greatly renewed resolution never again. And also in the status quo are moving geoengineering kills biodiversity, makes it impossible for species to adapt. Glacier attempts to fight climate change using technical inflict greater damage to global biodiversity and global warming. Attempts to disprove the gases, solar reduction management, and the release of aerosols would reduce global biodiversity more than warming itself. With the loss of biodiversity causes extinction. A loss of biodiversity is the greatest threat to human survival, even greater than climate change, because biodiversity is indispensable for survival. Biodiversity provides all basic needs, and vanishing species pose imminent threat to human survival, and space will come. Space colonization is coming. Private investment in NASA faces impossible by 2030. Tankerman, we're opposed to set people out to cosmos like private entities like SpaceX are flush because they're stepping it up, descending the average person to be no longer out of reach of the low upfront cost means that more organizations carry experiments in space as early as 2030. And the SpaceX might be already sent humans there is live in space by early 2020. NASA plans to send its own spacecraft to the red planet. Alien diseases are massive scenario for human extinction. There's no burnout bomb. Maybe possible for humanity to unintentionally be harmed by transmission disease and introduction disease is extremely put no prior exposure. The impacts could be devastating. ETI cause extinction due to the war. Also because it prevents extinction, maintains civilization. Categorically different Caldwell. Famine and plague would have little effect on stopping extinction because high levels of production will continue. The war is because of catastrophic attempts and the level of industrial production leaving future generations. Disarm incentivized bioweapons shift nukes prevent Horowitz and countries that are acquiring nuclear weapons are less interested in pursuing other WNDs, even when League of Numbers departments, Obama CBW seem to be viewed as bad. Countries the best chance to have short nuclear weapons to protect themselves. We present the first record for measuring the spread of CBWs and more robust nuclear non-proliferation, with German increased demand for CBW shift and the proliferation risk. WNDs exist in subdues once countries acquire more nuclear weapons to become less interested in ability and more likely to bend other WNDs. Is finding provides an empirical based possession nuclear weapons to be systematically associated with reduction in demand for other CBWs, even if the country never sees use the bioweapons. Genetically modified disease can still cause massive destruction. Days a good kilogram could reasonably be expected to infect more than 100,000 people. Because state programs risk leakage of capabilities notably higher than nuclear programs. Size and visibility biological agents more vulnerable to theft. Even if terrorists don't obtain weapons from the state, they nonetheless have the knowledge developing programs to accelerate their ability to produce and employ biological weapons. Biological weapons cause extinction by weapons and human risk existence of all future generations. These are responsible for the greatest death in humanity. Advances by weapons that cause the creation diseases, combining traits in the experience resulted in the viruses with enhanced transmissibility, lethality, and ability to overcome therapeutic response could be modified to have 100% fatality rate and delivery capabilities have been subject to cutting edge states to review and protect against cyber threats and remove prompt launch structure and also implement nuclear no first usage conditionals, solve cyber attacks and miscalculation and escalation. Pretty much your whole life modest and none countries with nuclear weapons to protect against cyber threats because instituting a process of continuing the assessment updates removing nukes from launch structures would increase the decision of leaders and structure posture to deter nuke use and accidental unauthorized launch and Miller real NFU policy growth of the entire military posture and no capacity to be used. And if you can include operational warplanes but into an entirely non-nuclear character and also influence military investment decisions and change the public order, could send a message that NFU is being taken seriously and exists with a great idea that first you start the picture to be a need for speed and offensive readiness. Only nuclear force would need to survive a technically capable readiness of retaliation. All readiness measures are associated with first use are undesirable and the forward deployed weapons would neither be necessary nor appropriate. Nukes would abandon the practice of exploiting nuclear weapons and only purpose is compatible with NFU. Deterrence to nuclear attack and NFU would be a significant step towards marginalization. And also, you don't get access to one air through one air result with that all led to air response to new you can above a 15-second one air shuttle 3 minutes and one in our can reasonably predict which means requires judge intervention to solve it. Always your infinite beast because the judge isn't able to vote coherently. Then it skews all educated in the debate space into times skew plus I have times 2 because you get 7 minutes to my 6 minutes. I have to split the 2 in argument meeting. You have a whole minute of advantage on the theory debate, which is time current event which outweighs your strategy. Since I need to be able to execute starting great guard in 3, I only get one chance to respond to it, so I can properly test and evaluate the truth of your shell. And for when AC theory is all, you can read all your interests in the underview, and you can ignore the Tangerman impermissibility negates stuff. I'm not going to read that, and I'll send a marked doc after. Now I'm going to be going on, and I'm going to be going specifically onto the the advantage. I'm going to go onto the Reisner index specifically. I'm going to weigh your author clause against my author clause away because specifically Reisner works in atmospheric science and he has a degree and he's been working in the field for more than 30 years. Even if he's slightly biased index, my author clause specifically away because insofar as he's literally an expert in the field, and even if it's a measurement in Atlanta, we should trust an author that literally has more than 20 years of experience in atmospheric studies and other scientific studies to determine how nuclear winter would function. Even if you don't buy that, I have 3 other cards specifically indicting his studies. Specifically, the Wagner card indicts his firestorms because they don't cause extinction on their own. And not only that, but firestorms literally would only happen in a few cities and aren't enough to cause extinction. Also, the starvation literally relies on winter. He conceded nuclear winter. He conceded that in cross section, when nuclear winter wouldn't happen for a multitude of reasons. He said in cross that nuclear winter happens when we have multiple nukes launched at once. But the thing is, we've launched multiple nukes at once into the atmosphere, empirically proven by the United States and Russia that have done 2 or 3 at a time, and none of these ever caused any atmospheric or winter or any destruction of the ozone, which empirically proves it wrong. So even if you buy his Reisner and my specific Wigner evidence disproves this nuclear winter, and all of his other access to extinction arguments specifically come from nuclear winter. Nuclear winter is what centers around it. I have 4 cards disproving nuclear winter, and even if you don't buy that, I have cards that specifically, my Wigner card indicts the starvation studies as well as the firestorms, which means that I always specifically an author calls because Wigner also has a degree in physics and mathematics, which always outweighs. And also onto the actual advantage, you can go to the advantage specifically the counterplans. All of these says that second gen Polo strike lacks second strike capabilities, but insofar as NFU is being implemented this and we're fiating this, that automatically means that your third point actually has no offense. And on the cyber attack, my counterplan also solves this because implementing defensive measures against cyber attacks and NFU would solve because they can't launch nukes first. And on the hypersonic warhead, that NFU would require them to be hit by the warhead before they launch a nuke, and because they're not nukes, they wouldn't be able to launch a nukes afterward, which means you have no impact.
Okay, good for cross.
Yeah.
All right. Do aliens exist?
Huh?
Do aliens exist?
Yeah, they do.
Who says so?
I can have evidence if you're gonna make a claim and set up in the one area like aliens don't exist or they probably don't exist, then I have evidence proving that they do.
What evidence? Who says so?
Sure. Let me locate the author. It's Stephen Hawking. If you're familiar with him, I think he's pretty famous.
Hawking, never mind. That's fine. Let's talk about.
Yeah, it's Hawking.
What impact does geoengineering? What impact does geoengineering have on biodiversity that human activity or like other human activity isn't already? Like, why is future tech uniquely bad?
Specifically, it speeds it up because it forces changes in the climate at a more rapid pace than climate change that species would not be able to adapt to. For example, we're accelerating the climate now.
A tiny speed up in biodiversity loss somehow outweighs the deaths of billions of people.
You have to weigh about it in terms of like extinction, right? Because extinction is the end of specifically all life. Now, if it does result in the death of hundreds of billions, not hundreds of billions, but billions of people, but it overall saves billions of
what species do we kill? What species do we kill?
What do you mean, what species?
What species do we kill?
From the biodiversity impact?
Yep.
It doesn't necessarily. Actually, it gives a multitude of examples. Let me pull it up. I almost said that it didn't, but it does. Let's see here. I believe honeybees is one of the examples, but there's also other ones.
Why does geoengineering kill honeybees?
Sure.
And so, how does honeybee death spill over? Where's the internal link for that?
Well, it's not just honeybees. It's a large amount of specific animals that are dying. And specifically, bees are very key to our food and agricultural systems, which you yourself talk about impacts about how like starvation can affect us. If bees specifically go uniquely extinct from geoengineering, which is what let me find the
okay, that's fine. I have another question. So, if NFU means that a state like North Korea can never strike back with nukes unless they're struck at, why doesn't it link to chemical biological weapons?
Why doesn't it link to biological weapons? Because the thing is, it's not just that North Korea is implementing NFU. The counterpoint is that all states have to implement NFU, transparency, and all these other measures. That's in the cards. So,
are the states you defend? Are the states that you defend the same states as the AF?
Yeah, it's literally the same.
So your counterplan happens. Your counterplan happens now, right?
Yeah, but it's also, I'd like to clarify, it's conditional on market as conditional.
Right. But is it all states, or is it the states that AF defends?
All states that have nukes have to implement NFU, and
so all states that have nukes now implement NFU. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll start prep.
And then if you want me to clarify, if other states do develop nukes, they would have to adhere to the same NFU like counterplan.
T23. Okay. I'm sending out the doc.
Okay, while you do that, let me say this. Having judged you at the mini apple, the round robin, I'm gonna need you to either slow down a tiny bit or send out all your analytics, given that we are on a Zoom call.
Yeah, no, that's expected. Yeah.
Are you gonna send the analytics or just slow down? Just curious.
I sent analytics. I sent everything. Everything that's pre-written, I sent.
Do you mind if like I don't know how fast you go, but if you're as fast as the judge prefers, then I would prefer you slow down when you're off the dock too.
Yeah, I'm not that fast. Don't worry. I don't think so, at least.
Okay.
But I'll slow down. And also, it's a Zoom call, so yes, don't worry.
Just making sure, just in case.
So the order will be the AF underview, the AF advantage, Spark, the advantage counterplan CBWs.
AF underview?
Yes.
Wait, so can you repeat that? Sorry.
AF underview, AF advantage, Spark, the advantage counterplan CBWs.
Got it.
I don't got that. You're gonna have to give it to me one more time.
Yeah, for sure. So the AF underview, the AF advantage, Spark,
Yes.
the advantage counterplan CBW. All right. Is everyone good?
Yes.
Okay, cool. The F needs one of your theory, otherwise the negative can commit infinite abuse and get away with it. There's no time scale. I can't spend the entirety of the 4 minutes responding to it. It's not irresolvable because you have 6 minutes to 2 hours, so you should be able to preempt every single possible argument in the theory. That's what you inevitably have to do. There's nothing unique about one of your theory. 7 minutes of sandbagging means one AC theory doesn't solve because you just spread me out, which means I can't check any abuse whatsoever. Infinite abuse outweighs everything on magnitude, which means it isn't really relevant anyway. Now, cross-apply all the sort of paradigm issues. Now the F. The F going for 2 Interlinks versus hypersonics. Net if doesn't solve that back because it's a new because there's no first use policy. Ambiguity means that they aren't sure if someone has first used the nuclear weapons, which means they would launch nuclear weapons back even if it's actually conventional. That miscalculation ensures escalation and retaliation, especially since the only people with hypersonics are major powers, which is U.S., Russia. So even if their impact defense of Spark applies, and the impact defense in Spark applies generally in a limited war, U.S. Russia is an all-out war, which definitely kills everybody. The Kronig evidence says that second generation isn't solved. Their counterplan across the split. They only fiat NFU for current states, but second generation proliferators like Iran in the future are not stoppable by that because they have insecure command and control centers. Only the affirmative's non-proliferation regime is able to solve that back because we durably fiat that it is ended and that there's no such thing as rearmament. The Robach evidence it takes out Rice, even though they work in atmospheric science. It's about the science or the actual methodology of the study. The methodology is super trash because it talks about suburban Atlanta. They wouldn't strike Atlanta, but they'd strike a big major city like New York. The ozone layer isn't solved back, but I'll get to that more on Spark. Now, Spark. First framing issue, nuclear war good is morally reprehensible air F because the incalculable suffering that Earth committed responsible for F evidence because it's more contextualist in major nuclear war, not just limited scenarios. Don't weigh future lives. A-point stops actually infinite magnitude means even if near zero probability always outweigh B-point uncertainty. Possible no of life is infinite pleasure, infinite suffering in the future. C-point infinite to the right about everything. Engulfing by the sun, heat, death, the universe means extinction is inevitable. They have finite magnitude 2 top level. None of the scientists have developed some of the most advanced technology ever seen, but simultaneously we got to safeguard that deterrence. Human extinction. Nuclear war does cause extinction. Ozone destruction breaches environmental thresholds. Firestorms engulf the earth with supernatural would be impossible for decades. Their evidence doesn't discount sort of nuclear winter, it just kind of asserts that it doesn't happen. So Wigner goes, wait, the econ evidence is bad because it's about landmass and the physical. No one's ever gone into a nuclear war when testing. So it doesn't apply. The islands, or they didn't read islands. No aliens or methodology crushes Hawking speculations. It's first of its kind meta-analysis Hendrick in all 18. The Fermi observation prize only very weak evidence. Observation creates recurrence that life is rather conclusions robust or change with all authoritative factors, high confidence results from implicit changes or time to take account other sense no reason to confident the galaxy consider civilization 53.9% every second of delay of space colonization is worth 10 to the 29th potential human lives. Watch for 3 negative reason reverse rate the gradual of us with those reasons with advanced evolution could have you seen lots of that we want to eventually find these great fractions until them check all any other defenses check that these colonizations just want to take another Pennsylvania more than 10 to the 29th human lives and other reason if it's no geoengineering development now Goodman 15 to 8 there is no major public funded research for geoengineering report concluded that geoengineering would be rational responsible for going against geoengineering practice also geoengineering research the very strong fluid mode and advice people in the climate activists were only talk about emissions regulation they want to talk about renewable energy, nothing else. The biology evidence is trash. There's no interlink as to why it would spill over, and they have no specific sort of stuff that they targeted, so you shouldn't buy it. Now, the advantage counterclaim. Permutation do both it links and the benefit, because if there's no NFU, then they need a substitute, which is CBWs, which is CBWs. Which is CBWs. If anything is worse, and if anything is worse, because there's still always the risk of vague terrorism or external threats from the United States, don't necessarily want to do that. Doesn't solve the stuff on the app that I articulated. CBWs. BW won't feel them, but even if it did no impact, Horowitz and Nang, it's incredibly biological weapons are high compared to nukes and feel the different dimensions complement each other, not disruptive enough to substitute biological weapons, technical complications, agents are linked to something understand for other disorder infection without direct focus, harder than manual as far contain passive defense substantially reducing effective required is makes nukes and CBW functions complements countries will be more likely to CBW simultaneously. No bioweapon control. Actually, that's fine. No incentive to use, because there's no one that goes to war. Not existential, because they develop a vaccine to their own people. Condo's a voting issue. It makes the 2 and are able to shift out of all one-year offense, which is bad, and so because it has to split the 1 year for multiple flows, and it's bad for clash because it incentivizes the door for the least covered argument rather than the most research defended one. Cross my paradigm issues.
I'm gonna take the last, I think. So yeah. So I have 2.5 minutes left. What part of the cards did you not read? Like the bioweapons cards, because it seemed like you didn't read the full cards.
No, I read the full first card. I just didn't read the Sonya stuff.
Okay.
Also, your mic is like really I don't know if that's just me, but that's fine.
No, the mic's it's fucked.
Is it better now?
But you can pause prep for this. This is like tech issues, obviously, but yeah, it's kind of fucked up. Yeah, maybe just like disconnect, reconnect it.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Wait, say like a sentence.
My name is Roberto.
Okay,
You're
you're
good.
good.
Okay. Restarting prep. The order is going to be the condo, then it's going to be the spark for like a little bit, not like a lot, and then it's going to be bioweapons and NFU, or NFU and bioweapons. And I'm probably actually so condo, case, Spark, NFU. Actually, no, sorry. Let me start over because I keep messing up. It is Condo, Case, NFU, CBWs.
On Case, where are you starting?
I'm gonna
Advantage or under?
be starting with the advantage, like what he extended from the advantage.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Is everyone ready?
Yep.
On Conway's voting issue counterinterpretation, negative debaters are allowed to read conditional counterplans insofar as their insofar as their one conditional advantage counterplan. This solves all of his offense because he says he has to shift flows, and it's bad for Clash. But if it's an advantage counterplan, then it doesn't matter. That it's not bad for Clash because it's literally just one advantage counterplan. You say you have to shift flows, but that's not unique. Everyone, all two wins inevitably collapse, which means you still have to shift flows. And if it's an advantage counterplan, it's really not that hard to cover. My counterinterpretation outweighs on specific topic education because your intern specifically makes it so that we have to read unconditional counterplans, and then we don't get as much topic ed as we could if we were to read things like Spark and bioweapons and one conditional advantage counterplan. There's no significant abuse from your shell, as well as having the net benefit of topic education. You literally make the weighing yourself on the topic education. I'm going to literally use your own topic education at weighing. We only have 2 months on this topic. Like you said yourself, this is your last topic in your whole career for the TOC. We should be prioritizing topic education, especially because your claim for fairness literally does not weigh in comparison to the lack of education. If I can read conditional counterplans, it restricts my ability to read advantage counterplans like mine, which outweighs on topic education, which is always net beneficial. Education is intrinsic to the activity, and also the only reason schools even fund debate in the first place is for their education. If there's a lack of education, schools would be incentivized to pull funding, which is a question of accessibility, which outweighs. This means that on the condo shell, you should air neg heavily. That is more beneficial for neg education, and that there's no abuse on the shell. Now, onto the advantage. A lot of my NFU stuff is going to be cross-applied here. On the stuff you extended from your advantage, you say that there's ambiguity in NFU and that the states will always launch back if they see missiles coming towards them, but you completely misunderstand what my NFU evidence is saying. It's that we literally cannot launch nukes unless we know for sure that we've been hit. We cannot wait. We cannot see, oh, there's a missile coming and then launch. No, we have to know for sure that we've been actually physically hit, not that it's still in the air. That is the point of my NFU counterplan, which means that all your warrants for why my NFU counterplan can't solve the AF literally don't do anything. You say that like U.S.-Russia war all out kills everyone, but the thing is, if U.S. and Russia were both to implement security measures against cyber attacks and also implement no first use and put their missiles in defensive position, that means is that it's impossible to launch nukes first because they're in defensive position. We literally cannot launch them until we've been physically hit because we're taking the missiles and putting them into a different position in a way that literally could not be launched. While your hypersonic missiles, if they move as fast as you say, which your study says that they can move within minutes, that means it is literally impossible to strike back until the missiles already hit us, because getting the missiles into offensive position and ready to strike, my evidence says specifically that it takes some time. If your study is true, which I would assume it is, that's probably why you read it, then your hypersonic missiles garners you zero offense because it would require that we're able to launch these nukes quickly. But my NFU purposely makes it so that we cannot launch back quickly, which shows all of the offense on the advantage. The only thing that you extend was like durable FIA and like also the like the hypersonic thing, but literally this does not matter. NFU solves all three of your points in your advantage. Cyber attacks are solved by higher security measures. You literally did not contest the content of the card on this. The hypersonic argument, you also this argument made no sense. Your own study proves my study proves you're wrong. If it takes categorically at least several hours for us to have nukes ready to be launched and hypersonic missiles can strike within minutes, then it is literally impossible for us to strike while a conventional hypersonic missile is still in the air, which means that the NFU solves the entirety of the AF, which means that you have no access to your advantage or your, which means you have no access to your impacts or, which means you have no access to your impacts or anything. And now, you made an argument for a perm, but a perm makes no sense if you literally say in your first card that we need to dismantle nukes and take them apart and eliminate them. That is incompatible with my NFU counterplay. We still need to have nukes. We just need to position them in a way that they couldn't be launched for at least a few hours, and also increase security for the nukes so that they couldn't be hacked against, and then also obtain like a security writer can promise not to launch them unless we've been hit first. There's nothing actually about my counterplan that eliminates nukes, and insofar as literally the first card in your plan says specifically your method of eliminating nukes, about how we need to dismantle them and eliminate them globally, and discuss disarmament efforts and transparency and getting rid of stockpiles. That is completely incompatible with NFU, because NFU says that they get to keep these nuclear weapons. It's just that they're not. It's just that they have to position them differently so that it takes more time to launch them, which solves your AF. You have no perm. I have the net benefit of solving all your war. The perm makes zero sense. Literally, your own evidence, the Vandermeer evidence, proves that NFU is incompatible with your own plan. Now, onto CBWs. You say CBWs don't matter because they won't cause extinction anyway. Multiple warrants that there's no impact or incentive to use. But the thing is, all these things are empirically disproven insofar as you can see that CBWs have the potential to be to mutate as a disease, and the pathogens have the potential to mutate that reach 100% lethality. That takes out your entire study about specifically why bioweapons, how we can solve for bioweapons with things like them dispersing in the air, or using vaccines, because insofar as it mutates, it would be literally impossible to use a vaccine to combat it, because if it's mutating, then our vaccine would be ineffective, and if it's mutating, it would be mutated to be stronger specifically, which means that you're weighing about why bioweapons would disperse in the air doesn't matter, because they'd mutate so that they wouldn't be able to. Like, literally look at your evidence. So Horwitz and Durang evidence saying that they wouldn't fill in, but you don't discredit my evidence. The first card that I read, this is specifically economic theory proves. I literally have a political and economic model, the Horwitz model, that proves specifically that we would shift to bioweapons absent use. You also say my NFU counterplan links to my own dissad, because if states have NFU, they would shift to NFU, they would shift to CBWs. But no, implementing NFU just is a better model for deterrence to decrease miscount. They don't need to shift to CBWs insofar as they don't have nukes. Literally, my first card says specifically the whole purpose we don't have CBWs right now is nukes, which means that even if we implement NFU, there's no shift to CBWs, which, because NFU solves the entirety of the AF, you can vote a neg on risk of the impact of CBWs. CBWs would be used. Even if they don't intentionally use them, you can see that terrorists can use them and they can still mutate, which means that I'm winning 100% strength to link on them being used and being developed, because you can see my economic model as well as my impact. Your study does not specifically address mutations in bioweapons, which means the neg always outweighs.
Okay. About 2 minutes starting that. Okay. The order will be the affirmative, the counterplan, CBWs. Is everyone ready?
Yep.
Yes.
Judge ready? Okay, cool. Here's the framing edge and the impact of it. You conceded a straight turn to spark. Space colonization saves 10 to the 29 lives per second. Only the affirmative axis is an accidental impact, which means it's a huge impact magnifier because we have to prevent industrial civilizations from collapsing. That means winning even a 1% risk of the affirmative having any unique impact at all means it infinitely outweighs CBWs, because there's no chance that it would prevent space colonization. They've read their own evidence that says it would happen now. They have to win a convincing impact of destroying industrial civilization and never being able to cover. Only the affirmative axis is that. Now, the advantage, they've conceded all of the second generation proliferator proliferation argument and the explanation for why the counterplan doesn't solve back. That was very clear. NFU is fiated now, which means that it doesn't count for second generation proliferators. Iran does not have nukes, which means that their counterplan does not fiat. That Iran has no first use policy when they inevitably develop nukes. That is really bad because Iran still has an incentive to use their nuclear weapons. They have an unstable command and control center, which is exactly consistent with how the 1 year described it. That leads to nuclear war, and that leads to nuclear war, a huge impact. That is the only unique impact in the round, because I'm going to prove that the counterplan links to this. But what that means is that only the affirmative solves, because we were able to establish a robust non-proliferation regime as of Vandermeer, which disincentivizes other second generation proliferators from proliferating because there's no external threats for them to do so. At worst, they proliferate CBWs, but I'm going to win that that's both non-unique and something that happens in the negative world at the same time. But just mark on your flow, second gen. Unique impact, straight conceded, no words whatsoever in the 2NR. I don't have to go for hypersonics. The advantage counterplan. The one argument that matters on this flow, not going for the permutation, is that it links to the CBW's argument. Their only extension of the link and the articulation specifically is that economic theory proves that if you take away someone's big bad guns, they'll want to develop something else instead. And if you functionally means that they aren't able to access their nuclear weapons, paranoid countries like North Korea and super militaristic countries like the United States have an incentive to develop CBWs at the same time, which just proves that the counterplan links to this at just as much as the affirmative. They attempted to answer it, but there was no clear warrant in the 2NR. If you are sure, here's how you compare. In the affirmative world, it might lead to CBW proliferating, but in the negative world, they also proliferate. CBWs is 100% non-unique because the same amount happens whether you vote affirmative or you vote negative, because either way you take away a big weapon. CBWs. Last argument I'm going for is the Horowitz evidence. It says that both nuclear missiles and CBWs have different strategic purposes. That explains why countries like North Korea have both stockpiles of CBWs and nuclear weapons. It means that there's no causal link between the removal of nukes and CBWs. Their link explanation was really shoddy, and Horowitz is much better. Lastly, impact defense is embedded inside. Passive defenses ensure that stuff like, for example, healthcare systems is able to solve that back. Even if terrorists get it, they won't have the technical capabilities to deliver it. The Horowitz evidence says it needs to be able to be planted in water systems, which terrorists cannot do, and there was no explanation for in the 2NR. Horowitz is a much better piece of evidence than all of their pieces of evidence, and means that you vote affirmative because there's no unique impact. No impact. Conceded solvency deficit to CBWs, or the counterplan. Easy AF ballot.
Good round.
Good round.
Okay, is everyone ready to talk about this debate?
Yep.
Okay. I vote AF. I think that the AF wins that the counterplan doesn't solve nuke war due to the second-gen proliferation argument, which has gone conceded. I think that the AF also wins that there is a risk that the counterplan links to the net benefit combined with defense on the impact. 3 arguments I have: healthcare system solves, terrorists can't plant because they need to access water systems, and North Korea already has both, which proves there's no causal link between nukes and chemical and biological weapons. Even if the risk of the AF triggering CBW buildup is higher than the counterplan comparatively, I think that the space colonization stuff is sufficient to outweigh any risk of a net benefit as a tiebreaker. That's the decision proper. Questions?
Yeah, I have a few. So I don't like LARP, but not that I don't like it. I don't LARP is what I meant. But
That's fair. I'm in the same boat.
Do you think my 2N was like I went for the right things?
Absolutely not. I have a lot of feelings about your 2NR. So I think that you spent way too much time on Condo. I mean, I don't know you, you don't know me, right? But you have one conditional advantage counterplan. I think the only response you need is the AF gets the 1AC in the permutation, we get the counterplan on the squab, right? That's a 1-to-1 reciprocity. And then maybe an argument about topic ed and move on. You spent like a minute and a half, 2 minutes on Condo, right? When you have one conditional counter. Not good looks. I think that honestly, I think you should have gone for Spark. I think that, CX was sort of an issue for you on the counterplan. I think that the inability to explain the relationship between NFU and second gen proliferators, puts you at a deficit. Like the thing with the NFU counterplan is you need to explain how it solves literally every advantage to the AF, or they're going to win a solvency deficit and you lose. I think that the explanation of second gen prolif could have been a little bit better, but I do think that the lack of any sort of press on that solvency deficit means it is difficult for you to go for the counterplan. I think you should have kicked the counterplan and just gone for the disad, because a lot of what the 1AR did and what the predictable 2AR was counterplan links to the net benefit, right? You take away the counterplan, you've taken away like half of the 2AR on the disad, right?
So like the CBW's disad and then like the nuke war doesn't cause extinction?
Yeah, like I think, concede the impact turn portion of the debate, which you're probably behind on, but then, I think you've got some game on like it doesn't cause extinction. So go for like doesn't cause extinction, but bioweapons do, right?
All right. Let's see if I have any more questions. Do you think that my articulation of CBWs and like the extensions of it were fine? Because I like
meh. They were sufficient. It could be better.
No, I understand. I don't do this often. I cut these cards right before the round.
That's okay. Yeah, I mean, I think like the arguments you were going for are fine, and they're the right arguments. I think what would have made the 2NR a lot better, if you plan on going for this again, is a list of empirical examples of like bioweapon attacks, right? Like I think that the argument that they like need to get it in a water source is like, why? Like you could just roll up to like any airport and basically infect half the country. Like just infect yourself, roll up to an airport, and infect half the country.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like create a disease with a long incubation period, heavy virulence, and pathogenic status, and you're set, right? Yeah, so I think that just a little bit more sort of empirical example or thinking through the process of like what the world of the dissent looks like, and you'd be in a better spot.
Got it. All right, I think that's it. Thank you.
I had like one very quick question, not related to the RFD really, just a question about the AF framework. I'm trying out a new thing with the pragmatic theory of truth stuff. If the round had came to a point where I had to explain that, do you think it was like reasonably well presented in the AF?
Absolutely not. I have no idea what you're talking about.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay.
Like I understand it from like a certain perspective because like I'm a comm major, right? Like I understand theories of language, but like I think that the issue is like it is presented in such a way that I need to take a second to think about like what is being said. And by the time that that's happened, you've already moved on to other things. So that like, I think that people without a comm background or people without like a linguistics background are going to struggle to figure out what it means. And I mean, like I was like with you, I just like could not think of like the relationship between pragmatism and util and like all of the way that they fit together, even if I understood themselves. So I think maybe clearing it up a little bit, like I'm thinking like there's words in here like truths can never, like these sentences are dense, right? Like I think trying to like even them out a little bit, make them a little bit less dense would be helpful.
Right, yeah.
Might necessitate more words, but that's the sort of trade-off, right?
Right. Yeah, that's really good to know. Thanks. Yeah, appreciate that. That's it for me.
I guess my thought is like if you are prepared to do that level of like more explanation in the 1AC means less explanation in the 1AR. So if you're prepared to do more explanation in the 1AR, then I guess it's fine. So it's just a question of choices, right? Like, do you want to like have to explain, the relationship between pragmatism and util and like unpack some of those warrants in the 1AR, or like it's up to you, right? Like,
right, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go. See y'all.
Okay, yeah, good luck and thanks. Yeah, thank you.
bye.